Hello, it's Tami, Plays Well with Paper. I'm guest designing for Whimsy Stamps today, and I'm going to share with you some cards that I'm going to make with the beautiful new Rainbow Bridge paper pack from Whimsy. Now, this paper pack has some beautiful images with rainbows. There are 30 pages in the pack, two of each of 15 designs, and I'm going to pull a few of these today to make 8 cards, and I'm going to make them 3 by 6. So I'm going to cut these 6 by 6 pieces in half and make some mini slimline cards. Now, I know that there's some people right now that need some encouragement, and to me, scripture is encouraging. So I pulled this stamp set with some lovely scriptures. It's called Stained Glass Scriptures Sentiments. And there are just some great Bible verses on here that I find encouraging, and I wanted to share them with some friends. I'm also going to use the Beaucoup Bouquet sentiment stamps. And so those also have some really just nice kind, uh, encouraging sentiments that you can share with a friend. So both of those I'm going to use, as well as some of the mini slimline dies. First is the mini slimline notched dies, and some of the smaller dies in this set are going to work with my 3 by 6 sized mini slimline cards. So I won't be using probably the largest, but I'll use maybe the second largest. Now the mini slimline notch dies are just a little bit bigger than the stitched ones, and then I may also use the rounded rectangle dies as well. I also pulled the mix and match paper packs 1 and 2. I don't know that I'll use them on this set of cards, but I wanted to have them at the ready, and I think they're great colors to go with this paper pack. So let's go ahead and get started with my mini slimline cards, and I'm inviting you to come along and let's get making. I began by taking my 6 by 6 pieces and just cutting them completely in half of 3 by 6-inch card fronts. And I did that with 4 different pieces that I chose from this paper pack. And you can see that each of them has a rainbow. Some of them have a tree on one side and just a hill on the other side. And that's okay. They're all going to be unique mini slimline cards. So I'll end up with 8. And so I cut some 6 by 6 card bases. I am scoring each one at 3 inches and folding them in half. And so I know this is a little bit smaller size for a mini slimline, but I wanted to make sure that I used all the paper for these cards. And so this is how I'm doing it. Now I got out the second to largest of each of the notched dies, the notched mini slimline dies. And you can see there that the mini slimline notched die is just a little bit larger than the mini slimline notched stitched die. So I'm going to be using both of those, the second largest dies. So this is the mini slimline stitched notched die that I am cutting the card fronts out with. So I want to just center that right in the middle of that 3 by 6-inch card front that I cut. And so you can see there I have a frame and I have the card cut. And then I just, out of white cardstock, I just cut the mini slimline notched die. And because it was just a little bit bigger, it made that perfect little mat to set apart all of those pieces that I cut with the stitched notched die. Now, with my adhesive of choice, I am attaching that frame that I cut out from the 3 by 6-inch card front, and I'm attaching it directly to my card base. And this may be perfect and it may not be perfect like you can see on mine, and that's all right. I am just going to put the piece that I cut out with the die onto that white frame, and then you can see how it's going to look. And then I just went in and trimmed out the little bit of excess on the card base so that there wasn't any white showing. And there we go. I continued to do that to all 8 card fronts. And now it's time to attach each of those matted die cut pieces onto the front of the card. And so I just did that, as you can see, with foam squares. So I just put foam squares through the center and then along the sides so that it wouldn't kind of dip down in the center. I want a little support there, so I have the squares all the way through, then center it on there and attach it. Once all the front panels are completed, it is time to work on the sentiments. So you need to choose what sentiments you want. I chose several different scriptures from the stained glass scriptures set and also a few from the Bouquet sentiment set, and I stamped them on my favorite white cardstock. And I used Distress Archival ink to do this. So you can see that I stamped each one a couple of times, and then I chose the ones that I thought were the clearest. And it's not the stamp's fault, it's mine. I'm not the best stamper, so I always stamp more than I need just to make sure that I did it right. Now, my archival ink colors are picked raspberry for the pink. The green that I chose was evergreen bough. And that blue that I was stamping with at the beginning, that is a Faded Jeans archival ink. I felt like those colors went best with the colors in this paper pack. Now, once I was done stamping, I just took my scissors out and I just fussy cut around each one by hand with my scissors, and I think they look great. I also wanted to pop those up and give them some dimensions, so I put a few foam squares on the back of each one. And I decided with each one whether I felt like the sentiment fit best at the top or if it fit best at the bottom. And then I placed each one onto the cards. Once each card had its sentiment, I decided they needed a little bit of embellishment. So I reached for this Calls for Confetti embellishments, and those are the glazed cherry sequin confetti. I also pulled some colors from the Fabulous Florals 2 confetti, and I decided to add a little bit of teal to a few of them, and so I grabbed the teal silver confetti as well. And I pulled some of those confetti pieces for each of the different card fronts and just kind of laid them on the fronts of the cards. And then with my adhesive, once I had some of them laid out, I went ahead and just add a little pop of adhesive here and there and then put the confetti pieces in. Now, normally I have a little sticky tool that I use to help me with this, but I am in the midst of a studio renovation, and so I have limited supplies at hand. However, I did manage to locate my Wink of Stella pen, and I went through and just added a little bit here and there of the Wink of Stella to some of the trees, to some of the rainbows, just a few touches here and there on each one of the card fronts. And that's how I did it. I just pen to paper. And this is how they turned out. I just love them. I think that they will be encouraging to anyone going through a bit of a difficult time that just needs a little bit of beauty and encouragement to send to them. They were so fast and so easy to make thanks to the Whimsy Stamps beautiful papers and just those encouraging, wonderful scripture and friendship sentiments that they have. So I just wanted to show you each of them. And I think that using these 6x6 papers and cutting them in half really stretches your supplies, allows you to make many cards very quickly, and it just goes so fast. And those mini slimline notched dies, the notched and the stitched dies really were a time saver. So I just am so happy with how these turned out. I would love to hear what you think about using the 6x6 paper pads in this 3x6 size to make some mini slimline cards. And also what you think about this beautiful new paper, Rainbow Bridge from Whimsy Stamps. So thank you so much for watching. I also want to be sure that if you are interested in any of these products, that you know they are linked in the description for today's video. So makes easy shopping if you'd like to get some of this paper or the dies for yourself. I want to make sure that you are following Whimsy Stamps on all their social media channels so you don't miss out on any of the great new releases or all of the amazing inspiration.